help people who are in a mixed faith marriage due to a faith transition. And really, the goal is to make the marriage even better than it was before the faith transition. So, we're going to talk about one aspect of a faith transition in this little video where the transitioning spouse trying out new religions, new belief systems. And there's any number of ways this can look. Maybe the transitioning spouse is still attending church very regularly. Maybe they're just not believing, but they're still attending. Maybe they will try other churches, Lutheran, Presbyterian, Baptist, Unitarian, whatever, and they're trying a variety of other churches to find a congregation that works for them. Sometimes they'll become agnostic, or atheist even, and sometimes they'll do all of the above, right? So many people struggle with the idea of being atheist or agnostic, or having a spouse who's atheist or agnostic. And so we're going to talk about some of the concerns surrounding choosing any of these things. Attending while not believing, trying a new church, leaving religion altogether, any of these things we're going to talk about, because it's not uncommon to try all of them. And sometimes that's how you figure out what works for you. But let's talk about how this works in your marriage. So we're going to go through them one by one. First one, attends the LDS church, but doesn't really believe. So if that's you or if that's your spouse, listen up. So this is probably part of every transitioning spouse's experience at some point, right? So maybe you're still attending, maybe you're even still holding a calling, but you're not subscribing to all the tenets, all the doctrines, all the beliefs. This was me for a pretty long time. I was teaching primary, I was teaching institute, whatever, but I was just sort of coasting. I would teach somewhat modified lessons, wasn't really all in emotionally, mentally, right? And some concerns that the transitioning spouse may have are things like, I'm not being authentic. Maybe I can't make this work. I don't like this. I'm afraid to make a change. So those are really common experiences. Here's another experience. This is where you attend another church after leaving the LDS church. And this I see a big issue with both spouses, right? Not just specific to one or the other. And there may be concerns for both spouses about how to deal with tithing or offerings, at churches, how to deal with Sunday attendance, right? A lot of people want their family to attend church together each week. So maybe they try different schedules of alternating Sundays or trying to do both each week. Sometimes even we make this sort of, whether it's subconscious or not, a little bit of a lobbying effort with the kids to get their interest and engagement in our respective congregations. Okay, another sort of category to look at here and see if this is you is the agnostic one. And agnostics claim neither belief nor disbelief in God. The LDS Church requires a lot of its members. Often a transitioning spouse may feel just a little burned out about religion, and they may just take a step away from religion, organized religion per se. And sometimes they may do this thinking it's going to be short term, and it might just be short term, and sometimes it's quite long term. And this can be challenging to an active spouse because it's one thing to leave the LDS Church, but it's another thing to leave organized religion altogether. And this leads us to the last category we're going to talk about today, and that's atheist. Somebody who disavows a belief in God. Now, if you're anything like me, this was not a kind thing to say to somebody when I was a child. This was something of a bad word. It was so incomprehensible to me for so very long. I remember when my sister told me she was atheist, I had something of a minor panic attack because it had such strong meaning for me. It can be very painful for some spouses to learn that their transitioning spouse is an atheist or considering being an atheist. So I'm going to talk to you now how to deal with any of these choices, any of these changes, because believe it or not, the same principles apply whether you're still attending, trying another church, leaving religion altogether, or disavowing God entirely, right? So let me tell you, and just in a nutshell, the best way to deal with this. It's the same way we deal with any choice or change, whether it's a new house, new job, new baby. We adapt. We adjust. We become familiar with the unfamiliar. No, I can hear you. I really can. I can't adapt to my spouse being an atheist. I just can't do that. It's against all I believe. Or maybe you're saying, my spouse should really be able to deal with this. They are being so rigid. They are being so stubborn. I truly can hear you. And I want to suggest, I want you to really consider this. Cannot control our spouses. We cannot control their choices to stay, to leave, to believe in God or not believe in God. Truly 100% outside of our control. What we can control is what we make it mean and how it impacts our marriage. What are you telling yourself about your spouse's faith choices? Now, is that helping you to show up in a way where you're gentle or you're loving? Or maybe you're being combative and defensive? Are you being hurt, compassionate, avoidant? You have to really start asking yourself. Because when we make other people's choices a problem, it usually means we're not adapting. We're fighting reality. We're fighting what is actually happening in our marriage. We're making a challenging situation even more challenging. Now, listen to me on this. So often we do this because we're afraid that if we accept the change, it means that we like it or we agree with it. This is not what it means. Okay, this is not what it means. It just means we're not fighting against it anymore. We're not trying to change and control our spouse and their decisions. It's a very different thing than agreeing. So, where are you and your spouse? What do you think about this place? You're really struggling, with your spouse and their changing belief, or with how your spouse is dealing with you and you are changing belief? We should talk. Let's find out what's going on in your marriage. Let's find out how your faith transition, maybe you're making it harder than it needs to be. Reach out to me. Go to mormoncouples.com, click on Work with Brooke, sign up for a free call. And what we'll do is we'll go through a process together. It's a fun, interesting process. We'll find out where you are in your marriage. We'll find out where you want to be. It's so insightful to see this and to see how you're getting in your own way or not. Really insightful. It's a powerful process to walk through, and I want to help you do that. It can really give you insight on how you can improve your mixed faith marriage today. All right, wishing you the very best.